The good games just keep coming here at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice World Championship for StarCraft 2. We had a blinder of a series just before, and I'm sure that this one is going to live up to expectation as well. To my right-hand side, Maynarde and Todd. Gentlemen, a very good PvZ, but now we have another PvZ.
Oh yeah, and this one is going to be as good, I believe, with both of these players playing so well as of late. On one hand, you got Deer that's 7-0 in series against Impact, 14-1 in maps. But on the other side, we have Impact, who's been absolutely on fire at an incredible road here to qualify for this tournament, to make it into this round of 12.
Yes. And
who's already taken some good names down in this tournament in the matchup, Maynard, right?
Yeah, he's taken down Neeb and Zest just in this tournament, and that's actually not a bad resume when you're talking about someone's EVP coming into this series. So I think that the streak may be broken here as we come into Impact versus Deer.
Yeah, it may be. Maybe it seems like Impact is in good form, as you say.
Absolutely.
Those were the only two Protoss that he had to contend with in his group, and it speaks volumes about his matchup going into this.
Yeah, but I think obviously at this point both players know each other very, very well, and I think honestly Deer is going to know that Impact is the kind of Zerg that likes to be aggressive, that likes to hit timings and do weird stuff.
Right.
So I think we're going to see Deer probably be a little bit more defensive, and hopefully read Impact well here, because he is a very tricky tricycle, Zerg. Yeah.
Impact is a player that, you know, we've seen grow from the very beginning. I think of way back in the time. I think it was the State of Play documentary where you'd see Impact actually aspiring to become a pro gamer, walking in the steps of, you know, people like Jaedong and things like that. And then you get to these tournaments nowadays and you see him doing well, and you can't help but put a smile on your face when you see him actually being able to perform the way he does.
Yeah, for sure. I think like we all remember as well, like when Impact started going deep in some tournaments, one of his deepest runs ever was in Bucharest, where he met Jaedong in the semifinals and actually beat him.
Right.
So years later, to be able to go up against your idol and beat him, I think is a really cool story. Impact is definitely one of those guys, though, that I feel hasn't fulfilled his full potential yet in StarCraft.
Right.
Like he's been good for a long time. He's had a couple decent results here and there, but no major title yet. Like he would have to win this tournament here to really kind of change that, or even have a very deep run.
And just brief thoughts on Deer here before we actually go on to the series. He's, again, I described it in the group stages basically as a turbulent time throughout his career. He rose to the very top, came to the international scene, joined Mouse Sports, didn't have the best of times. That's very, very clear. Kind of subsided and disappeared for a long time, but when he joined Samsung Galaxy, he really gained far more momentum once again back in Korea and was able to really put himself back on the map.
He did, and then he sort of still got pretty turbulent, as you would say, James, because if you think back to GSL, that was pretty rough for him as well, which was the tournament, I guess, you know, the part of a tournament before this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, this one's going really, really well for him. He's been doing great here in Katowice, but I wonder, will it end, or he's going to continue this streak?
Final thoughts on Deer, Todd, before we go?
Honestly, if Deer is able to kind of play like he used to, and he was one of the absolute best out there, I think he's, with the record that he has against Impact, he should be able to do well. But the question is going to be more towards Impact and how well he's playing right now, in my opinion.
All right, thank you very much, gents. Time to go to this series. It's going to be a best of 5. Deer goes up against Impact.
Something in the air tonight. I'm gonna have to reach for new heights. And if I have to stand alone, I'm not afraid to face the throne. The enemy is all around. The walls crumble as I watch them.
After a crazy first match of the day where we saw Trap take down Dark 3-2, it's time to head into another Protoss versus Zerg for our second match of the day. It's going to be a GSL champion taking on a VSL champion. Katowice, give it up for Impact versus Deer!
Down a broken path with every breath and every stride. I still need you here by my side to take me by the hand once again. I'm blinded by the light. We won't back down from a fight. No, we won't back down from a fight.
Here we go. The next round here in the round of 12 The underdog Impact up against Deer, the man who has been in charge of his play recently. He is looking in form. It's all about whether or not the underdog can upset Kenny take Deer down for the first time ever in their competitive history.
Another PvZ pick, but one that I think is going to look very different than our previous series. Impact is just a very different type of Zerg than Dark is. I expect a lot more aggression. I expect a few more cheeky builds. We already saw him bust out like a Ro12 in this tournament. You don't know what you can expect with this man. Deer, of course, is going to be a little similar to Trap. Often we're going to see a lot of Stargate openings. You're just kind of forced to in a way. It's not that everybody always wants to go Stargate, but you just kind of have to, especially when you go up against somebody like Impact, who is likely to bring the aggression early on.
It is definitely a weird situation when you're playing against Impact. We've seen him often stay at a lower worker count than just about any other Zerg. He is happy to stay at that smaller economy because for him, it is all about the momentum. It's about the tempo, it's about the aggression. He wants to set the pace and find the chinks in his opponent's armor. He wants to see how he can upset his opponent. But in the past, this man has been solid as a rock against him. He stood strong. But that being said, Impact is different now. He's grown a bit stronger. He's found his way through to defeating Zest 2-0. He took down Neeb as well yesterday. Yeah,
and in the qualifiers, he took out other Protosses like SOS and Hero. I mean, come on, that's something that you cannot underestimate. Amazing record of Impact against Protoss lately, but this man pick, you mentioned it once this weekend. In 2013, there was a time, and I know that sounds like a long time ago, and it is, but that makes it perhaps even more impressive that he's here again in the round of 12, 5 years later. But in 2013, there was a time where Deer was the best player in the world. He won GSL, he won the WCS season finals in Canada, and back then, heading into the global finals, he was the overwhelming favorite. He was the guy that everybody expected to become your WCS global champion. But of course, back then we had that legendary moment with Jaedong, the burrowed Zerglings.
Roaches, man, and Zerglings. Oh, that was such a crazy turnaround and a moment where it's weird, right? Because we all expected such great things from Deer, but Jaedong shut down that dream, and he fell off quite quickly from there.
Yeah, I mean, he still made it to the semifinals, so it's not like he completely fluked at the global finals back then, but we all thought he was going to win. But it's good to see him back, and man, Deer has been showing some amazing games this weekend. Especially this one PvP that I casted with Artosis, I believe it was. He just made the smoothest transition ever out of a Phoenix War, and I'm still flustered by it. I have no idea how he's done it. This man's been on fire.
He's looking good so far. Can he continue his run through to the top 8? In the top left-hand side, in the blue, it is Deer.
On the right bottom side of Acid Plant, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Zerg. It is Impact. Now, Acid Plant is one of the larger maps at the moment. Not the biggest map in the current map pool, but it's definitely quite a big map, especially early on with all that debris in the middle of the map. So perhaps this is going to be a more macro-oriented style from Impact, at least in game number 1.
Yeah, definitely could be. Impact, of course, known for his variety in styles. And we've seen a ton of Roach Hydra aggression out of him. Roach Hydra drops, multi-prong assaults, Nidus Worms as well, of course, featuring heavily. Haven't seen too much Lingbane Hydra out of the Zerg player. But Deer, on the other hand, is just coming in early with this probe scout, wants to see exactly what's going on. And scouting, that's the big thing that we see being so important in this matchup recently. Probes hiding on the map, coming back in for crucial scouts. We see Adepts and Oracles constantly probing the Zerg's defenses, trying to see what's up, and often Phoenixes trying to shut down the Zerg's overlords. Both players fighting to both gain and deny information.
Yep, and once again, guys, we're going to see something we've seen a lot in this tournament, and that's, of course, the early Adept move-outs from our Protoss. And it really comes down to how the Zerg handles it. Even in that previous series, there was such a huge difference from map to map, how those games played out. For instance, on a Biogenesis, Trap very early on got 10 drone kills with Adepts and Oracles. But for instance, on Blackpink, Dark was able to go up to 74 drones while only losing 3 drones in that process. The difference between that pick, you as a Zerg player, notice as no other, is massive, especially early on. As a Zerg, you really need all your drones. You cannot afford to lose 7, 8, 9 drones against Oracles and Adepts, especially if you don't kill those units.
Yeah, the Zerg economy is a lot like a snowball rolling down a hill. You want to just try and gain up speed, gather up momentum and size as you go. The Protoss player, of course, trying to just throw anything in your path that they can, trying to slow down that build-up. That's Deer's goal here, with the Adepts chrono boosting out quite early. Stargate on the way, and a nice fast third base for Impact. We've seen a lot of those weird 2-base Roach plays with the fast lair out of Zergs in this matchup, this tournament, but Impact going to be going for the more standard opening so far.
Yeah, and the real magic in this economic damage that Protoss often has to do against Zerg is not necessarily in killing the drones immediately, even though that's the obvious damage, but it's a lot of the indirect damage, right? By keeping your opponent in the dark, by faking things, opening up with that Phoenix, for instance, that's going to shut down Overlords. Is Impact then free to drone up, or does he have to drop a much earlier Roach Warren just in case? You know, is Protoss actually going up to 3 bases, or is that Nexus fake? And do they stay on 44 workers? That's the damage that you don't see in numbers immediately, but that often really tells the tale of a game.
Impact's Overlord is going to go down, already building a few more, so shouldn't be too supply blocked here. But he's going to see that Oracle on the way, and of course the smart adjustment here by Impact, only putting down the Spore Crawlers now that he sees that Oracle is about to pop out. And 2 more Gateways and a Twilight Council go down immediately for Deer. Looks like a Glaive Adept follow-up.
Yeah, that's a fast Twilight as well. We've seen a couple of other Protoss players drop the Robotics facility before the Twilight and still move out with a couple of Adepts, but not necessarily to do damage, more just to threaten Zerg a little bit, keep them honest. And by honest, of course, we mean force out units, because once again, you don't want to let the drone count just snowball. And before you know it, you're looking at 74 drones.
That Oracle trying to find its way into the main base, but these Overlords well spread to give that pre-warning. Impact moves the Queen to just zone that out, and Deer unable to find any damage whatsoever just yet. But chrono boosting the probes nicely, does still maintain a small worker lead, has the Robo down, Adepts and Resonating Glaives, the Adept attack speed upgrade on the way, and these Adepts going to move out to take the 3rd base.
Yeah, so far everything is looking very economic out of Deer. It's just the Phoenix first is a little bit interesting, right? Because often you do see the Oracle before the Phoenix, because that first Oracle can often find 1 or 2 drones before the Spore Crawlers have either finished up or drones are being transferred to one of the additional bases. The fact that he went Phoenix first obviously kind of denies that opportunity of getting those free drones. By the time the Oracle actually did make it to the other side of the map, Impact knew exactly what was coming and was super well prepared. So far, you gotta love this for Impact. He really hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, he's droning super hard here as well. Almost being quite greedy, you'd want to call it. The Zergling's not quite getting a glimpse of those Adepts. They're all pulling up there, waiting for Glaives to finish. There's going to be another round of Warpins and a move out momentarily. And it's all about getting enough Roaches out on time here for Impact. He's being greedy. If he can stop the aggression, then he will get in a very nice position.
Okay, he knows about the amount of Adepts, and that's a few more Adepts than you normally see. Often you see Protoss move out with 6, 7 Adepts with Resonating Glaives. This is way more, obviously. This is over 10 Adepts. Now the Roaches are going to do very well in the straight-up fight, but what Deer will try to do is not take that straight-up fight. Deer is going to try to shade all over the place and try to find those exposed mineral lines.
Good creep spread, helping Impact get out front to engage these Adepts, trying to force that shade out early. One Adept already does fall. The Adepts are going to commit though. They dive into the mineral line, only a few Roaches on them, and the drones all escape out of there. The Resonating Glaive Adepts start to dive on into that main base. Perfect defense so far by Impact, but the main base is bare open, Kevin.
Yep, no Roaches here, so that also means that these Adepts can just aim move and actually always shoot at drones. I actually like the way that Deer has been executing this so far. 8 drones going down, 9 now in total, and perhaps a few more, even forcing out a Spore Crawler, excuse me, a Spine in the main.
Very nice damage here from Deer, and he's occupying Impact, wasting so much mining time. You gotta remember, it's not just the kills, it's how much time you can occupy of the Zerg player. And at the end of that, he does end up with 11 worker kills. This Adept in the main base will fall to the Queen, causing quite a disruption, but Impact has built a large force of Roaches, and look at those upgrades. +1 and Roach speed lining up together could have a very fearsome counterattack.
Yeah, what's interesting, Pig, is that Deer is doing this off a single Robo. Now, the downside of opening up with this many Adepts is that the Adepts will pretty much always go down, and then the question is, do you have enough at home? And this is why a lot of Protoss players like to go double Robo, because then you can chrono boost out 2 Immortals, and 2 Immortals shield battery and a couple Gateway units is pretty much always enough. of the single Robo, it becomes a little bit more dicey. Let's see if Impact can get something done.
That Immortal there is, of course, such a bastion of strength against this Roach-based composition. The Oracle and the Phoenix sees everything. Impact just going to back off for now. The Warp Prism posing for a little bit of counter-attack pressure. But Impact has redroned. He's back up to 3 bases fully saturated. And you know, Deer here, to stay safe behind that, he had to cut quite a few workers, Rotterdam. He's down to just 52 workers up against 66. His tech is looking very nice, but definitely behind in the income.
His army looks quite powerful now though, right? With all these gateways behind it as well, he still has that Prism, that's multiple Archons and Immortals, and Impact doesn't really have a lot of Hydras, and Hydras is kind of what you want to have at least defensively, so you can kite those Zealots a little bit, you can push some serious damage output on these Archons from far away, because if Roaches have to get that close to Archons to do damage, that means the Immortals will start shooting at the Roaches, and obviously Immortals do tons of damage on Roaches.
3 Adepts dropped into the main base, a nice little maneuver here from Deer, trying to take advantage of the fact that his main army was such a threat up there.
Krensel, yeah.
Ooh, gets a couple of the Hydras, very nice. That's going to be a really good pickup here. Just 4 or 5 workers as well as a few Hydras. His army moves home, and you know what? Because of that, Impact wasn't droning the 4th base. Yeah, he's got it finished. He's going to drone it up now, but Deer's tied up the worker count. He's bought time for Storm to start. I'd say a pretty good position for Deer.
Deer didn't scout that 4th base though, right? In the left bottom side. That is not... no, he hasn't seen it yet. This is not the most common 4th base on this map. Often you see Zerg players take that 4th base right above there, where the Phoenix is chilling, or on the right side, where the Warp Prism obviously has been bouncing back and forth between the main base. So I actually think that Deer is misreading this a tiny bit and believing that it's still a 3-base Zerg, while it's actually a 4-base Zerg. Then again, Impact has no idea about all these Zealots moving towards this 4th base.
Yep, Storm is almost done now as well. That's going to add a strong counter to the Hydras. The Zealots turn around though.
Maybe I think they got spotted by a Zergling, and Deer is like, in this phase in the game, I don't really want to throw away 5 or 6 Zealots. So he changed his mind, but that once again means that Deer still doesn't know about this base in the left bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, I think he assumes at this point that, of course, Impact is going to be macroing up. It's well past the stage of a 3-base all-in, but positionally, this could screw up Deer's chances of attacking the correct location. Lurkers are already coming out en masse for Impact, getting ready for a big multi-prong attack. Does he have Overlord speed? I don't think he does. I think it's just a ground-based assault that he's looking for.
And the Immortal count is looking quite healthy, of course. Storm is ready now as well. 5 Immortals, 3 Archons, it all comes down to the engagements. It's important for Deer to keep the Oracle alive, so just in case you lose your Observer, you can still tag all those Lurkers, and that's something that we've seen before. If you don't have that, it can cause a lot of trouble.
Oh, these Lurkers starting to siege up just on the edge of this base. Looking to take down those cannons is Impact. Deer wants to shut this down right now, but he's already taken a ton of damage on his Immortals and Zealots. The Storms are good though. The Archon flank from the south is massive, but there might just be a few too many units here. Deer does manage to break the contain, but Roaches on his natural at the same time.
Oh, a couple good Storms though, and look at that Immortal activating the barrier there as well. That Immortal ain't going down. Big Daddy says no to these Roaches, Pig, and I actually think that Deer has handled it very well and perhaps is able to get a little bit of a counterattack going. The only downside for Deer at this point is he has no Storms available, and moving out without Storm is always a little bit risky if your opponent suddenly shows up with 15 Hydras.
Yeah, I like this warp in of High Templar, but they might all just become Archons if he wants to force the issue. Indeed, he is going to go for it. Deer senses weakness, and he says it is time to finish this game.
Nice catch here. Just Zergling strapping one of these Immortals on the left side. That makes his army a little bit less powerful, but look at these Zealots on top of the Hydras.
Wow, just trapping those up against the wall. Lurkers only just finishing morphing. They don't get time to burrow. Everything is crumbling here for Impact. There is just too much firepower in that Protoss army.
Yep, Impact knows it as well. GG, Deer takes the first game in a pretty convincing manner in the end, Pig.
Yeah, that defense was solid. I felt like Impact's opening was pretty strong, but Deer knew exactly how to equalize. I love the fake pressure on the front, the Adepts on the back. It was only a little bit of direct damage, but you know, when you're playing against a Zerg, it's often just as much about forcing a response, forcing them to not focus on the economy. And whilst Impact's attack was well timed, the Lurkers and Hydras on the north, the Roaches for coming in from the left, it felt like Deer had just the right numbers in place. That Archon flank on the Lurkers was huge.
Yep, and of course still buying a little bit of time as well with his shield batteries that he had there. He had the Observer, he already tagged the army in advance. Deer just did a phenomenal job in splitting up his army, didn't take too much damage on the right side, and was obviously safe against all those Roaches in the middle as well, as he dropped a couple of good Storms we saw at the end of that battle. And with the Immortal standing strong, and I also love the Killer Instinct, man. Deer is one of these Protosses that doesn't mess around. He's like, I took a great fight. Well, let's take another great fight, but this time on your side of the map. And he just gets the job done. Very solid game by Deer. He's been looking good this tournament, man.
Yeah, we didn't expect as much from him. We were like, okay, cool, you know, he's qualifying through. He's playing quite strong, sure. He's playing, you know, a bit better. And I think every step of the way, we see a little bit more confidence from Deer's performance. He's just been getting better and better as we go on, and especially here in Protoss vs. Zerg. And I mean, Deer versus Impact, that's a unique matchup, right? He's got such a history of destroying Impact in head-to-heads. And Impact, I mean, I would say that was one of his more straightforward games in that last one.
No, it really was. Everything was very macro-oriented early on. He went up to 58 drones before he started building roaches against the Adepts, and perhaps that was a little bit of the downfall as well, because he took a lot of damage, 11, 12 drones, and of course he lost an insane amount of mining time. First from the natural, then from the main, then from the main again when he realized the Adepts didn't shade back. I actually think that Deer was quite happy with how that played out early on.
All right, he is already up 1 game, spawning down here in the bottom left-hand side of Blackpink in the blue. It is Deer.
Over here on the right top side of Blackpink, we're looking at our Korean Zerg. He is down 0-1. Give it up for Impact.
Impact showed some special styles through the earlier stages of this tournament. You know, we haven't really talked about it too much, but big Mutalisk tech switches were part of his success yesterday. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that coming back in. Of course, the other thing we didn't see in that first game was drop or Nidus play. Definitely drops combined with roaches really seem to be part of what makes them so useful. We're seeing this metagame shift in Protoss vs. Zerg where people are using these roaches to defend these Adepts, to defend these Chargelots and Archons. But really, I feel like the trouble that the Zerg runs into is how can I then use those roaches effectively in the big engagements? If you fight front on into Storm and Immortals, you're just not going to have a good time. And that's why Impact split those roaches off on the left. He tried to kind of separate and intercept reinforcements, but we saw Deer was like 2 Immortals and a couple of Storms, and those roaches just disappeared.
Yeah, perhaps that's one of the reasons why Deer played single robo rather than the double robo that we've seen a lot in this tournament. We saw it in the previous series as well from Trap. Maybe it's because of that potential Muta switch that you mentioned, Pig. Of course, these guys, they always do a lot of research. So if you're a pro player and you advance to the bracket stage, the moment you know who you play, the first thing you do is take a look at their other games of this tournament. He's obviously been watching the same games that you just mentioned, and maybe he felt single robo is actually going to be alright against Impact. I don't think I need a double robo. Double robo could potentially set me up for disaster if I don't scout a potential Spire.
I actually like Impact's decision to play a standard game, that last one. You know, if you think about it in that context, it's like, hey, he's watched your sneaky Nidus plays, he's watched your Mutas, why not go for a more straightforward play? And in hindsight, maybe Impact didn't need to push as hard. Realistically, Deer was on 3 bases. A lot of the times when the Protoss takes the 4th, that's when he gets stretched out a little bit. That's where we see the Zerg players find the openings. So, you know, that's what we saw in the first series of the day as well. On Catalyst, Dark versus Trap, he managed to take a big advantage after sniping the 4th base.
No, I 100% agree. That's where it becomes a little more tricky for Protoss, because you also have to invest in static defenses at your 4th base. And of course, those Protoss armies, they get a little bit more vulnerable, especially against units like Lurkers. If you're only on 3 bases and you have to split yourself thin on 4 bases at that point, that's where Lurkers become very dangerous, because that's one of those units where if you take a bad fight against Lurkers, it becomes a really bad fight. There is no such thing as, well, that was still a trade, right? Like, no, if you're just taking a poor engagement, a poor battle, you're going to lose everything and kill almost nothing.
Oh, wow, that probe actually putting down a pylon for, is that, oh no, that isn't a full wall off. There is a gap on the top there. For a second, I was a little bit like, whoa, what? He's seen a 3rd hatch and a lot of drones, and he thinks there's an all-in coming. But no, that's just me being a little bit crazy. Is going to be once again the Phoenix opening, shutting down the Overlord Scout.
We see Impact queuing up 3 Overlords though, but he obviously is aware of the fact that he's going to lose 1 in the main base, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Expecting just a few more drones. Once again, it's Phoenix before Oracle for Deer. and he's going to follow it up this game with the Robo, so no potential resonating glaives. Perhaps he feels that Blackpink is a little more scary against a Roach counterattack, because this map is, of course, a little bit smaller than Acid Plant when it comes to a potential counter after they deal with the glaives.
I mean, we've seen some brutal charge-lot Archon attacks out of Deer in this tournament, and this is the build order for that. Robo into Twilight, obviously Templar Archives and a Warp Prism, and going up to 4 gateways is the standard path. So looks exactly like what he's doing here, and I can't fault it. It's been paying a lot of dividends for these Zerg players. Now, keep in mind, the Roach meta evolved basically as a response to this. And recently, what we've seen in this tournament is players saying, I get over there, I have my Archons, I see a bunch of Roaches, and immediately they flick a switch and they say, double Robo Immortal production, focus on the defense, and just poke around with the Archon drop. Don't actually commit too much to it.
Yeah, we see the Templar Archives on the way already for Deer, who's sitting steadily at 45 probes. This is often where Protoss stops building probes, at least for like a minute or so, because they want to get some units out, they want to be able to apply some pressure as well, and they want to make sure they don't play too crazy and have absolutely nothing at home if Zerg decides to produce a lot of units. But that's one of the keys of this Oracle, right? The Oracle may not seem very impactful, but it gives Protoss so much security and so much safety about knowing what they can and cannot do.
Yep, being prepared is half the battle for Protoss players. Need to have their positioning just right, their spells used in the right way. Charge is on the way. Pro production somewhat halted at the moment. And, you know, we don't really see that huge gateway explosion just yet. There's going to be a Forge behind this, but the Archons are going to be warping in. There is going to be some pressure. Impact already into the Roach production. It seems like he loves this drone count. 57 workers into Roaches and Roach speed. It's going to be a solid defense into a potentially massive Roach counterattack once again.
Yeah, of course it's important here that you don't take too... Ooh, those Archons are a little bit far away from the War Prism, but of course the pickup range is good. The Observer here as well, that's of course the sweet thing for Protoss. It's important to push the creep back a little bit. You can't really move out with your entire army to kill a couple of creep tumors, but flying around safely in a War Prism, dropping the Archons, picking off a creep tumor here and there is very important and can really slow the Zerg down. Deer is still at 45 probes. He's finally queuing up another probe now again. That's a lot of gateways though. Definitely seemed like he was a little bit worried.
These Archons are going to find a Queen Snipe, and that's always nice. There's not a lot of anti-air with this sort of opening. Some lost mining time as well. A good start to things here for Deer. Behind this, it looks like he's still going single Robo Immortal.
It feels like he's gearing up for an attack almost. I mean, he's queuing up 3 probes now at once, but can we take a look at that third base? It's already done. He only has 2 workers here. I really feel that Deer wants to move out and try to make something happen. He's going to get 3 Immortals quite quickly, of course. He's warping in a lot of Zealots, Pick.
Wow, that is a huge commitment right now, and Impact being very greedy, going up to Hydras, adding up more drones, going towards 70. It seems like
base.
Yeah, 3 Immortals on the way. 3 Immortal, 3 Archon, and a ton of charge lots up against Roach Hydra.
Yeah, we've got 10 Hydras on the way now, but Impact needs these Hydras sooner than later. Obviously, every second that goes by, the overseer knows, like, okay, you guys are coming. Well, I better get my Hydras in a good position. Force field's also something to be aware of. We don't have a single Ravager on the map. These sentries could potentially cause a lot of trouble.
Roaches and Hydras out in large numbers, but it's all about positioning. Every single Queen already pulled to the front. It's full panic mode. Impact just needs to defend this attack, and he will have a huge economy lead behind this. Every second that goes by, Impact is massing out units, but Deer is going to force his way through.
That's a lot of Zerg, though, Pick. First Force Field does go down. Obviously, a couple of these Roaches melt away, but the Hydras in the back, that's the real key for Impact here. As long as he can keep his Hydra list safe, he should potentially be able to hold.
Oh, that Archon splash was massive, though. Impact kind of moved forward to hug the Protoss units, and I don't know if that was the right call there. Drones have been forced off the line. If he can defeat this army, it will be massive. The Prism being focused down, and it falls just before the Zealots get out, and that is a good hold for Impact. He's lost a lot of workers, but he should be able to get rid of this Protoss army.
Yeah, losing 18 drones obviously hurts, but killing all the Immortals, the Archons, and the Prism, that's massive. What do you think he does right now? He's going to go back into droning. He doesn't want to take the risk. Obviously, counterattacking with slow Hydras is rough. I mean, that's pretty much as much of a trade as we could have imagined, right? Impact lost a lot of units and lost a lot of drones, but at the same time, Deer lost everything.
That Prism Snipe was crucial. If that Zealot Warp-in got in there, I think we see another 10-15 workers killed easily. It might have even spiraled out of control. So Good snipe by Impact. I guess being decisive and pushing his way forward was the right call in the end. You know, I would always err on the side of trying to negate that Archon splash, but Impact very decisive here, and he is droning back up. I mean, the work account's very even on both sides. Right now, I'd say Impact's looking a little bit scarier with the army, but once Storm kicks in, once that +2 kicks in, things turn around.
Yeah, it's going to take a while before Deer is going to once again have a very healthy Immortal count with a bunch of High Templars and Storm, and we do see Overlord speed. I absolutely think that this is the type of game where a massive Roach Hydra drop into the main base of the Protoss could potentially be awesome. Also because Deer literally used all of his units in that fight. That included the Phoenix, included the Oracle. So how is Deer supposed to spot a potential Doom drop is maybe a big word, but a massive drop into his main?
Hey, very well may spell the doom of Deer in this game. He's only got the Warp Prism for map presence, as well as some Charge Lots kind of meandering their way around the southern side of the map, waiting for Impact to be engaged elsewhere on the map, and then he will be able to send those Zealots in. Of course, Zealot's not that impactful in a frontal engage, but a very cheap unit that can do a lot of damage in a counter-attack if your opponent isn't prepared.
I really love this move by Impact. I think dropping is so smart after you've taken care of all the Stargate units. I think it makes perfect sense. We see him loading up all these drop loads here. Do the Zealot spot it?
Oh, not quite. That drop is going to get around there and go straight into the main base. And meanwhile, Zealots are hitting from the north and the south at the same time. Kaelaris would be pretty pleased. A lot of drones going down on both bases. Drones here are going to be focused, but the Roach Hydra defense is good. There we go. Zealots in the main. Find another weak point.
Wow, Deer is all over the place, but at the same time, Impact wants to get damage done. But I think that the Xel'Naga Watchtower spotted this,
yeah.
Which is why Deer is sending units into his main base right now. Not taking care of this Zealot is really painful at this point for Impact.
Did he? I don't know if he F2'd his army back or he panicked and kind of sent it on a more direct path into the main because it was queued up to go right around the edge before. But then he ends up showing his hand, and now Deer knows exactly what Impact's plan is. This is going to buy him a ton of time.
Sickest move ever is if Impact now drops his units on the low ground and uses everything to collapse on the fort base. Like, that would be next level mind games. Man, it's a very action-packed game pick.
57 workers only for Impact. He is staying low economy. He wants to fight. He wants to use the momentum of this 60 army supply advantage. That is a huge force. It's all about Storm, Roddy, but the spreads are good. Impact negating the Storm damage. He's throwing down corrosive vials at the front. At the same time, the drop rotates back into the main base.
Impact is doing a good job in avoiding the storms at first. And while I say that, he's actually going to eat a couple of very big storms, but he does have a much bigger army. But shield batteries, Immortals, and Archons, and he hasn't unloaded the units yet.
These units just chasing them around for Deer, but Deer might not quite have the numbers to hang on at the third base. His probes are already going down, and the natural drop is going to go back into the main base.
I love the drop behind the mineral patches. Makes it very hard for these Zealots to be effective. Look at this. He thinks he's Terran Pig. He's picking up units and dropping them behind the other units. Great execution by Impact. Damn, what a solid game. I think he's done it, Pig.
Yeah, he's way ahead in the supply here, doing massive damage to Deer, using this big push of Roach Hydra, not trying to go for the next economy stage, not trying to macro up. He says, I can finish it right now with positioning, with multitasking, and with a ton of Roach Hydra.
I love it. He drops on the high ground again. These Hydras can go to town on the mineral line at the fort base. These Immortals are exposed as well. And that's all C wrote for Game 2. Impact ties things up.
His Zerg vs Protoss has been so good throughout this tournament, and it seems to be continuing here. Does rally and take a map, and this is actually the only second map Impact has ever even taken off Deer in their competitive run in history. This is only the second map out of, I believe, 6 series they've played against each other before today. This is not, no small feat. It's where your confidence starts to build as a player. It's where you defend that huge timing attack, you hang on, you snipe the Prism, and then finally Impact is in his comfort zone.
And the way he did it as well, I mean, that's just the most important thing. It was a very solid game, a good hold early on. He was forced to pull the drones for a split second, but he saw that Prism and he didn't think twice. He just went for it, which is so risky, guys, because if he loses 3-4 Hydras, if the Archons and Zealots get on top of the Hydras, and that Prism survives with 6 HP and you lose 4 units, it's game over at that point. I really think that that would be the end of that game. But he got the job done, and then I just love the follow-up with the drop in the main after killing the Stargate units. That's just smart play. That's really, really smart.
It worked well there in game number 2. Deer letting that one slip through his fingers. It is, of course, a best of 5. The winning player goes through to that top 8. And we are going to be launching into map number 3.
Curious to see what map it will be. I believe we're heading into one of the more standard maps in our current format. Everybody loves this map. Best of 3, best of 5, or best of 7 pick. You're always going to see Kaelaris.
It's a great map here in the top left-hand side. The blue Protoss player. He's been a champion of GSL in the past. He's looking to regain his former glory. It is Deer.
The Terrans will come later today, don't worry. We're gonna see a couple of them, literally a couple. On the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Protoss, who played a fantastic game on Blackpink. Make some noise for Impact.
Not quite giving the wishes of the crowd there. We haven't really seen a 12 pool or a Zerg rush just yet. But
this one is a little cheeky though. He was sending... don't you? Come on.
Potentially.
If I scout this as a Protoss player, all alarm bells go off. All of them.
I think the scary thing about the gas pool opening...
All of them, Pig.
All right, well, it looks like you're going to have your wish, mate. Looks like you're going to have your wish. I think we're going to see... Oh, no? Looked like a proxy hatch.
I think he will. Come on, what else is that drone doing there?
Yeah.
Unless it gets scouted, of course. I think he pretended.
Mind games, Kev. We're seeing some mind games.
But he could still potentially do a lot of things from this. Now, the big difference, if you go hatchery first, and then you take an extractor, or then you take a pool and then an extractor, or if you open the way that Impact did, is pool and an extractor very early on, is that gas income comes a lot quicker, which means potentially you can do a Roach Ravager rush of like 1 base and a half, 21 drones. You could do a Link Flood, you can do a Bailing Bust. There are a lot of things you could potentially do. Of course, Deer scouted it, but no, even if you scout certain builds, they will still become very, very difficult to defend.
He hasn't started an Overlord yet. He's going to go for the proxy hatch now. What? What is this build? He's expanding and then he's going to go for a proxy hatch on the 3rd base of Deer. He's going for Zergling speed. I honestly have no idea what this is, Kev. Analysis is out the window. I've never seen this before.
Curious to see where he takes it. Is he still mining gas? Yeah, he's mining a little bit of gas, so it could potentially still be for a couple of Roaches, Ravagers down the road. He can absolutely use the proxy hatch to get queens. Roach Burrow?
But he's making drones and then Burrow, and then he cancels Burrow, and now he's making a Roach Warren. This is a crazy build, Rotterdam. I don't know what's happening right now. I think it's going to be some sort of Roachling timing, but it's such a weird progression into it. I mean, I guess he makes Roaches.
If he makes a Phoenix, I wouldn't like the Phoenix too much here. I think this is one of these games where you want to open up with an Oracle.
Void Ray.
Okay, or Void
Ray if you want to be really safe. If you're as confused as we are, and I'm sure Deer is right now, he's seeing such a strange series of opening events. He knows something's up. His Adept just saw very few drones on the natural. A Void Ray here is going to keep him completely safe.
Yep.
Those pylons are next to each other, though. Potential target for Corrosive Bile.
Shield battery would also be nice there. I think having a single battery there, a couple of links will get on top of the Adept. This is why we said Impact is a different type of Zerg than a lot of the other Zergs out there. The problem with Void Rays is, though, that they lose against Queens. Now, with, of course, Oracle as a follow-up, Impact is going to be sad to see there is no Phoenix here. But, of course, Deer is not going to play the same way against this opening as he would potentially play against the Hatch first.
So it's going to be a Spore Crawler Queen Roach Ravager push. We've got a Queen walking across the map, drones running across the map, Queens and Roaches and Ravagers building from the proxy location. Impact is going all in on a massive rush. He wants to try and defeat him with this one big push.
If Deer can find a Queen in the middle of the map, that would be massive. The longer this goes on, Pig, even though Deer technically has a good setup against this, right? Against Queens and Spore Crawlers, this still becomes really hard. And you mentioned those pylons.
Yeah.
Even the battery there, if he balls in the middle of those little triangle, that's gonna be bad.
Absolutely, Adept's coming out front here. The Void Ray does have some shield battery healing, more batteries going down.
I think Impact is going too far forward. If he loses a queen, I think he loses the game. It's so important that he keeps every queen alive. And actually, the longer this goes on, not necessarily the worse it gets for Zerg, because the queens get more energy. But if you lose a queen, Impact, I think that's the beginning of the end.
This is going to be an energy battle for sure. Shield batteries, Oracles and Void Rays up against queens. The Adept Stalkers and Void Ray do come out front to start battling. They don't want to get trapped behind the wall, and the Oracles are going to come in, and they're actually focusing down the Ravagers. One Oracle microed back there. The Void Ray getting low on hit points. Stalkers starting to fall. So are the Roaches and Ravagers, though.
Fighting so far away from the batteries may have been a mistake here for Deer. His army is very small, and those corrosive bows are hitting the pylons, hitting the shield batteries as well, and all
He's got to heal that pylon! He's got to heal the pylon! Deer! No, he doesn't heal the pylon! It goes down! The Void Ray's gonna fall! A huge blunder from the Protoss player! Impact starting to break through.
And with all these queens still alive as well, Zergling streaming into the natural now. There are a couple of Stalkers. I don't think this is a point where you want to make Void Rays anymore. You probably just try to get as many Gateway units out as possible and just kite your way back into your natural. He's still ahead economically. Chrono boosting the gates, I think, is a smart decision. You don't want to make any more air units. Just try to get out as many stocks as possible and rebuild your cyber core as quickly as possible.
If he can get that back up, he can continue to build Stalkers and then Adepts eventually if there's enough Zerglings and need some anti-Zergling. But for now, the Stalkers push back the Spore Crawler. They push back the Creep as well. Impact's attack has been held. It looked like it was going to break through. But Deer, he's stabilizing for now.
I mean, it's not over yet, though. If these Stalkers get caught out of position, the Zergling count is very high. That's why getting a couple of Zealots is quite smart, Deer.
Oh, the shield battery is still somewhat in range. These Stalkers actually microing forward and focusing the Roaches, but the Roaches and Ravagers killing a lot of these Stalkers. The Zealots, though, doing work. Almost all of the Zerglings have been cleaned up.
Yep, the Queens are still going strong in the back, but there is a lot of additional weapons coming in, and those batteries are doing work in the back. A couple of Stalkers are caught in a very awkward spot on the left side, but of course Deer, with his economic advantage, he's okay with trading out units because he's 10 probes ahead.
Yeah, as long as Roaches and Ravagers keep dying every time a Stalker dies, he's completely fine with that. He's even squeezed an Oracle out. It's going to go in and look for some drone kills.
Oh,
there's no Queen, no Spore. That is the GG Oracle Rotterdam. It is going to kill everything.
It has a lot of energy as well. Deer moved out, though. He's going to end up losing a lot of Gateway units here again, but he's ahead economically so far that all he needs to do is just survive a little bit longer. Deer doesn't have to fight here. Like, he really doesn't have to do this.
He's going to warp in more Stalkers. I think he's got enough units to hold despite that attempt to keep the Cyber Core alive. Impact has to tap out. He's lost every single worker back at home. What a crazy game number 3 there. Impact pulling out an incredibly creative and wild strategy.
What a solid hold by Deer in the end, though. All the batteries, losing that pylon, it looked really dicey at first, but he got the one thing up that could have truly saved this game for him, and that's, of course, the Stalker count. The moment you get 4, 5, 6 Stalkers, of course you can start kiting Roaches, of course you can start kiting Queens as well. Queens of Creep, obviously not that scary. Deer doing a really good job in obviously analyzing the situation and defending properly.
He's only one game away from closing it out. We're going to continue with the series in just a moment, but first of all, let's get some more in-depth analysis from the guys on the desk.
That's right, a 2-1 situation at the moment. Deer being able to hold on there in game number 3. We're going to check in as well with the guys here at the desk because I want to highlight some of the moments that may have gone down in that game. Todd, going to start with you. I believe you have game number 1?
Yes, Deer opened up with some Adepts as well, so was able to kill a bunch of drones. And Impact set up a siege with Lurkers. So I think Pick broke down very well the ZVP meta currently, which is you're going to have Charge-Lot and Archons that are going to be attacking the Zerg in the start, kind of forcing Roaches because it's too hard to handle that with Zergling and Banes only.
Yeah.
But then if you go into Roaches, what do you do against Immortals? So the game evolves into Hydralisk and Lurkers to try and set up a big siege, which is what Impact was doing here. We can jump into my laptop, and I'm going to show you guys. Impact did something brilliant. He sent his army on the left-hand side, and he sent a huge siege of Lurkers on the right-hand side. I really thought that Deer was going to be in big trouble because he wasn't ready on that side.
Right.
But let's see what he does. He's gonna, well, he kind of leaves that behind. This is kind of bad, but he sends a lot of those units here towards the top side, just enough to properly deal with this, and comes in from behind with a couple of Archons as well. Whereas here on this side, he just kind of pulls back. So he's able to clean up that siege. And I mean, once you clean that up, the game changes instantly.
Yeah.
Because Impact's reinforcements are kind of missing here for the longest time. Like these Storms who are like some of the absolutely deadliest storm that I've seen in a while. And from there, Deer evens the supply. He finds himself on 5 Immortals against a guy who's lost his entire army. He's down to 3 Roaches.
Yep.
And he's just too far ahead to lose from there. He goes for the counter-attack, and it's just enough for him to close things out in game number 1. So a beautiful defense by Deer in game number 1.
I love where we're in the era of StarCraft 2 as well, where it's almost commonplace that 3 or 4 engagements are happening at the same time.
You have to.
Games. Yeah, all these players are able to multitask to the utmost. Thank you very much, Todd. We can check in with Maynarde as well. Which game were you watching here with Deer and Impact?
Just the one that we just had on stream just now, that intense build from Impact. Now, I'm not in love with Impact's build. I would have swiped left on it. I definitely wouldn't have taken it home to meet my parents.
That's fine, that's fine.
No super like for it?
No super like. Oh, wouldn't even dream of super liking this build. But, I mean, it can work. We know that Impact is actually, you know, this is a style of Impact, right? So he is an aggressive Zerg. We talked about it before the series, but this was a big moment here, like for you guys playing from home. The shield batteries don't automatically heal structures, but if you target it, they do. And this pylon going down was pretty annoying for Deer. He's losing a bit of production here in the time being, but shield batteries still a pretty good unit. Stalker's holding on here. It was really all about the shield batteries, and a couple mistakes, honestly, from Impact to not finish this Protoss off. There's a little bit of blundering on each side, but I mean, this is as intense gets here. You know, Deer was obviously looking for the map advantage. Impact as well. Impact wants to break this streak, but Deer's the big GG. That was the Oracle.
Yep.
And we're going to see that coming out now. It doesn't really matter.
No.
Too late.
It's too late. Forget it.
It's too late.
We saw it on stream anyway. If you missed it, too bad.
In both games that Deer won, he actually very well could have lost with just a few details going Impact's way.
Yep.
So he's up to 1, but I feel like Impact is not out of it just yet. Like these games have been so close and so competitive.
All right, let's head back to the commentary team as we're going to bring you game number 4 here between Deer and Impact.
Thank you very much, James, and the guys there on the desk, pointing out some of the finer moments here in this series.
Yeah, it's funny as well, when you look back at a rush like that in the final game, there's always things that you don't see the first time, right? Like at one point I was really worried about the cybernetic score. On the other hand, maybe they kind of wanted him to focus it because he did have all those batteries, and since he was fighting so far away from his shield batteries, he could have technically healed up his own cybercore, and then of course Impact loses a lot of potential DPS. He would have much read ahead on units. And of course, you know, you don't really want to make a Stargate unit when there's 4 Queens and a Spore Crawler there defensively, but then just sending an Oracle to the other side of the map, if you can afford it and you have the Stalker count that you're looking for, I mean, that's just super smart by Deer.
Yeah, it's really funny actually how the Queens end up being this almost siege unit only against the air units, right? And the moment you just kind of swap into the Stalkers on the ground and you say, well, actually, the Queens don't really do that much against us. And of course, using those Stargate units to counterattack instead. And we should totally get Jeff here on a Skype cast. Absolutely. Great suggestions there from the audience on exactly how we should run the show. I feel like it would be nice, maybe a 4-second delay there. He could drop out once in a while. It'd be worth it, though, to have Jeff down here again.
I think that Jeff would be very eager to hop on Skype at 4:40 in the morning, California time. Like, I'm sure that that is something that he's ecstatic about. Let's give him a call right now and see.
It has been a little bit sad missing, of course, in control down here. But we are soldiering on nonetheless. And right now, we are seeing the underdog Impact. We've said, look, he doesn't have the greatest chance in this series, but he's fought hard. He's won that second game. If he can win 2 in a row, he still has a chance. But standing in his way down here in game number 4, in the bottom right-hand side of Backwater, in the blue, it is Deer.
See a little tense there as well. We're on the left up side on this map that we didn't see in our previous best of 5. Our Korean Zerg needs your support. He's down 1-2. It's Impact.
Backwater, an interesting map here. Both players getting an accessible third base. Hard to assault by ground, but drops have been very popular in common here. Lots of Oracle harass, stasis traps coming in on the back of the mineral lines, that sort of stuff. It's definitely a map which does tend itself towards those macro games.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of drawn-out games here. This is also one of the maps where Zerg drops could potentially be very good. It's also a map where every now and then you see some Zerg cheese. Of course, we saw that famous game already of Scarlet just a couple weeks ago, where C went up against SOS in the finals of the Intel Extreme Masters in Korea. And those link floods, they can be quite difficult to stop on this map.
Yep, Lings, Overlords, more Lings. Lings dropping in the back, Lings rushing the front, Lings all over the place. That's the stuff Protoss nightmares are made out of. But they've become very good at stopping it, and the Zerg players in this tournament at least don't seem to have much faith in it at the moment. It seems like it's been such a flavor of the month sort of strategy. The Protoss players are just very well prepared, and the Zergs instead opting for more straightforward openings. Once again, Impact here with a very straightforward hatchery first expand. But another build order, which I think we should probably mention on this map, is the Nidus Worm. It's one which we often see popping out into the main base, especially against people going multiple Phoenix. There's lots of area in that main base where it can throw up, and it's kind of hard to get your army back there to defend. Yeah, certain Nidus builds can hit so fast as well, especially because the third base becomes a little bit more difficult for the Protoss to scout there. Now, of course, if you move out with your Adept and you shade all the way into the back of the natural, you will see it. But there are even some very weird two-base Nidus builds that can hit so fast, where it becomes really quite hard to figure things out in time. But it seems like Impact is at least going to go up to 3 bases, and we'll take the game from there. Yep, going to be taking that third hatch here. Stargate on the way for Deer. Deer already coming out with 2 Adepts very quickly onto the map. Didn't chrono boost the second one, so might not even go across the map. Or what we often see, of course, is the Adepts meeting up with the Oracle and kind of posturing around the front, looking to create threat, force out a few more Zerglings than the player would like to build. Zerg always battling with that decision between, do I build drones or do I build fighting units? And that's part of what the pressure achieves. Force more fighting units, reduce the Zerg's economy, and fall back and put yourself in a much better position. They're switching things up a little bit again. This time it's going to be Oracle first. We'll probably follow it up with a Phoenix, and then potentially maybe with another Oracle. Something we haven't seen out of Deer in this series yet is that good old double Oracle Phoenix trick, where you can fly into a base where if it's only a single Queen and a Spore Crawler, the Phoenix can fly in first, it can tank some shots, lift the Queen, and then the Oracles can do a lot of damage very quickly to the Zerg economy. Wouldn't be shocked to see that on backwater, because it's very easy to fly into that potential third base or even a main base from the right top side. Yep, the laser beam run by of death, always one which a Zerg player can get caught unawares. And we are going to see the Robo coming down nice and early, so looks like the Charge Lot build with the Archons potentially, but actually Twilight Council, I don't know if it's down just yet. So we have to keep our eyes on that one. And is going to be, of course, just the standard path for Impact. I feel like Impact just has this one rigid opening that he's playing today against Deer in terms of the standard games anyway. Obviously, when he's proxying a hatch, it's a different story. But I imagine we'll see a Roach Warren and, yeah, going up to 3 gases in the next few seconds as well. There we go, second and third gas. Exact same pattern as in game number 1. Yep. Makes sense against the potential Archons. If you try to defend against Archon drops with just Zerglings and Banelings, things can get a little dicey very quickly. If you make too few Banelings one time, suddenly the Zealot count can be a little bit too high, and it's hard to fight Zealots already with Lings, especially if there are Archons flying around as well in a Prism. So you're just kind of forced, right? Kind of forced to make these roaches. Yep. And I think the most important thing for Impact is if this becomes a similar game to what Todd showed as well on the highlight that we saw on Acid Plant, the first game of this series, is I don't think he needs to get hyper-aggressive against a 3-base Protoss. He really doesn't. You saw the way that Dark was playing it this one game as well. Just to start banking 2,000 minerals, 1,000 gas, make sure you have a proper remax, and the moment they want to go up to 4 bases, that's when you want to hurt the Protoss. But especially on this map, like running straight into a 3-base Protoss, that's just not going to work against somebody who's as good as Deer. Once again, just shy of 60 drones. Impact swaps into Roach production. Roach speed and a 4th gas on the way as well. Oh, Zerglings in the main and the natural. A great split off here from Impact. Going to do some nice damage. Yep, this is always going to do some damage. Oracles chasing Lings is actually quite annoying for a Protoss to control, because the Lings are a little bit fast. Spire is our first Spire of the series pick. And this is a brilliant moment to go for the Spire as well, because Deer is obviously not scouting for it. At this point, Deer has to worry about these Zerglings that are running rampage in his main and natural. Impact can feel the momentum shifting in his favor. That Ling run by killing 7 probes. The Spire is down, as well as a Hydralisk Den. Is looking to open up both tech trees, can obviously choose his choice, his tech path based on what the situation. If that Spire gets spotted, he might not even use it, but for now he's just opening everything up. He's got a very nice economy, just going to want to establish a 4th base in the near future.
Prism really wanted to go in, but at the same time, you don't want to go in too deep because that's the moment where the Queens can actually just hunt it down. It would be devastating for Deer if he spots the Hydra then and not the Spire, by the way. That's absolute worst case scenario.
Oh, that is huge, Kevin. That is massive. Almost no damage done by this Archon drop, and it goes down. That is one of the most devastating moves. You know, often I'm critical of pro players when they say, oh, if this happens, it's GG. But this is one of the moves they often talk about saying, it is massive. You cannot throw away those first 2 Archons.
Can we take a look at Deer's vision? The Archon didn't spot the Spire, correct? It got quite close, but not close enough. So it's poor. Poor Deer, this is a disaster. You're making extra gateways, you're making immortals, you've got 1 Phoenix out on the map, but with the economy that Impact has, this is going to be more than just a few mutas. I mean, he might just do 7, 8, 9 mutas to do economic damage and then switch into Hydras, but I actually think mass mutas wouldn't be bad at all against this double robo that Deer is playing.
Yeah, of course. You know, we get to see everything. And I got to agree with you, Roddy. I think it'd be checkmate. If you just make 15 mutas, there's nothing Deer can do. But even 7 or 8 is going to do a lot. And how does Deer establish a 4th? Right now, he's saying, well, I'm going to put down the 4th Nexus. And I kind of hope Zerg doesn't attack me for a while because he's got nothing to defend it. He's sitting behind his natural wall in with just this tiny force of Immortals and Sentries.
He queued up another Phoenix.
Oh.
And now he cancelled it, I think.
Might actually be sensing that something is up here, but I think he just saw the Hydralisks, and it was seeing the Hydras which made him to cancel that. He said, if you're going Hydras, there's no way you're going Mutalisks. Cancels the Phoenix, and is caught unawares. Cannons are building, but they're not quite done just yet.
He's going to take quite a bit of damage here in the main base. He's going to wipe in a couple of Stalkers. So far, not too many probes, though.
Not a good choice there by Impact. Only gets the cannon. Doesn't even kill a single worker with the bounce damage. A little bit of a wasted opportunity. He needs to get into these other bases and find that damage. He's going to start trying to focus down Archons. High Templar. Ooh, morphing at the last second. 0 damage.
So the good thing here for Impact is that obviously he doesn't have to worry about Stim. The bad thing is that he lost his surprise element, and now I kind of feel that Impact is going to have to do so much here to make all of this worth it. And against all these Immortals, and once again, this is a 3-base Protoss. Of course, it doesn't have to worry about Storm, that's great, but you still have to worry about the Archons and the Immortals.
Lurkaden is going down behind this, so he's not all in. I don't want to see Impact throw this game away, trying to force his way into this wall. He does just take down the Cybercore, and there we go. Deer comes out, and Impact says, all right, you want to fight me in the open? Let's go, buddy. Jumps on top, does a bunch of damage. Deer still trying to force his way out, but that's a lot of Zerg units, and Impact's happy to trade for days.
These Mutas actually did quite a bit of damage in the main base. Deer distracted by the Mutas as well, lost his Archon. Now the Immortal count is starting to run a lot lower as well. Of course, there is still this Warp Prism, but that one gets sniped too. And even if Deer holds here, he's in a very dire position.
Impact here with decisive play, shutting down the early aggression, snapping the Archon drop in the early game, pushing across with the Mutalisks, and now taking advantage of Deer's weakness. He's knocked down the wall, he's cleared up the vast majority of the army. There's no splash damage, it's just a few Immortals and Zealots here up against a swarm of Hydralisks knocking on the door. It looks like Impact is ready to tie things up.
Yeah, unpowered one of the Robos as well. That Forge still spinning, trying to get +2. Good micro, of course, on the Immortals, but there's way too much Zerg. Impact's economy is fantastic. Deer is just scrambling by. He's gonna lose a few more gateway units as well, and I think this could very well be it for Game 4.
Massive win there for Impact. GG from Deer. And that ties it up 2-2. Impact is still in it to win it. He's still got a chance. And now it all comes down to that most crucial, that most tense single game to decide it all.
What a sick choice by Impact to just dive on top of those High Templars. While there is a Sentry there was an Archon in the mix, I believe, a Phoenix as well, but Impact said, nope, all I want to do is take out the High Templars that could potentially storm my army, and then I'll follow it up with the massive Roach Hydra attack. Seemed like a risky move, but it paid off in a very big way. Man, both of them are making some really good clutch calls.
Yeah, they're both adapting to the situations in front of them, and we're seeing some more straightforward, I think, macro sort of oriented games than I personally expected. Deer, of course, standing strong in the early part of this series, but now it's tied up and it could go either player's way. The next map is going to be Eastwatch, And I'm personally excited because we haven't seen a lot of Eastwatch this tournament. It is a map with a lot of destructible rocks. It's got dozens of paths. There is a gold base, something we've seen Impact actually use against Zest earlier in the group stage on Neon Violet Square. So there's a lot of crazy builds that can come out on this map, and especially as it goes to the later stages, the movement is really, really unique on this map.
Yeah, we saw this map in the finals of WCS Leipzig between Showtime and Cerro, and I think it was one of the more fun games of the entire tournament because of exactly how you mentioned it as well. The movement, the armies were just dancing back and forth, and you can really catch your opponent off guard. If at one point you suddenly decide to knock down some rocks, you can really close off certain paths, and it can become very difficult as a Protoss or as a Zerg to defend one of your key expansions.
It is going to be a tense moment as they go into this final game. This is where the players get tested a lot. You know, Impact, it's been a while since he's been on a stage like this. But now here in this moment, he's got a chance to make great things happen once again. And man, the money, the fame, everything that comes with making it one step deeper, the odds just get more and more important for these players. Of course, $150,000 for first place in this tournament, a $400,000 prize pool, as well as a ton of WCS points. And the winner will immediately be getting their ticket to BlizzCon booked in.
Yeah, both these guys already made way over $5,000 for making it into the round of 12. But if you make it into the round of 8 pick, that's another $5,000 on top. And obviously from that point on, things go up very quickly.
Oh yeah. These matches get more and more important as they go. Zerg versus Protoss. It feels like we've watched a ton of it in the last few days. But these guys showing us an incredibly unique series so far. Let's find out how it finishes. Down here in the bottom left-hand side of Eastwatch, in the blue, the Protoss player, he is Deer.
And over here on the right top side of Eastwatch, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Zerg, spawning in red. Make some noise for Impact.
And it looks like we are going to see that gold base go down once again. Impact loving this style, going up to that gold expansion. Now, in the game against Zest on Neon Violet, he actually went for that gold base. He took a third, went to about 40 or so workers, and then he went for a big Ro12 with some queens. But that was actually in response partly to the fact that Zest went to Stargate Phoenix. So that was a very odd choice. I'm not sure if Impact was just planning the Nidus from the get-go or if it was a reactive move. We didn't get to find out as that was an off-stage match. Didn't have an interview there. But definitely curious to see what Impact's plan is. Now, Deer, I don't think he's spotted the gold yet, but he saw no natural, sees the hatchery in the pool timing, the gas in the pool timing, and that alone tells him that there is a hatchery somewhere on the map. So I'm sure he's going to head over there and confirm.
Yeah. That actually sounds really smart by Impact. I like the way that a lot of these guys have their certain opening set and then will do certain builds only if they see X, Y, or Z. And maybe that's just his default response against a double Stargate. It's like, all right, I'm going to unload 8-9 queens out of my Nidus and let's do this. You know, I actually think that I will have enough because I know you cannot ever have enough to deal with roaches on the ground, especially not if, of course, the Zerg has been mining of that gold base for a while. But so far, Deer is not doing anything too crazy just yet. He's just playing it normal. I often think, and this is the way that Todd describes it as well, is like when you see a gold base, it often triggers a reaction where you feel like, okay, I need to do something about this, and you start doing really weird stuff. You're like, all right, Warp Prism 8-gate all in, you know, and this is actually, those are not the responses that you're looking for, because then you're just panicking and you're really going over the top. And of course, Zerg, when they're mining of that gold base, they do actually have extra income as well. So defending certain all-ins actually just becomes easier for them.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just a matter of minute adjustments. You know, your Oracle says, hey, there's more space between these bases, more area to catch the drones transferring. And that's what we often find. We talk to high-level players about their reaction to gold bases. They usually do say, look, I just try to find a little bit more damage with my harassment. Maybe I make a small adjustment, but we're not necessarily going to see a huge shift in Deer's entire game plan. May just try to play this out as standard.
This Adept would love to see how many drones there are truly, but of course, even if he gets into the mineral line, even if you see 12 drones there, that doesn't necessarily say everything, because Zerg players will always transfer drones from the main base towards that gold base. But the most important thing here, ooh, that's, I mean, he did this before the 3 Overlords,
There's
I guess.
an Overlord watching as well, so we might cancel that Phoenix when the Overlord's gone. Overlord turns around. In fact, says, are you going to change that? So he goes out of vision, hoping for a cancel, goes back in vision, and confirms that it is indeed Phoenix production, but a very fast Robo on the natural.
And he still cancels it in the end.
Nice. Good mind games there from Deer. The Robo, has that been spotted by the Zerglings? Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big tell. That tells you aggression's coming, right?
Oh, that's 4 gates, 5 gates. Well, Pig, now the only question is, are we going to see Zealots or are we going to see Glaze? But he's not really mining a lot of gas, so that gives us the idea that Deer is going to fire up charge and is going to do exactly the thing that I said that you probably shouldn't do. But, you know, if your execution is as good as Deer's, maybe you can still get away with it. But this is something I would do, Pig. You panic, and you're like, all right, 8 gates charged, let's go.
Let's do it, man. I think Deer is saying this can punish you. I know you're being a greedy boy. The Roach Warren only just starting, and that Warp Prism, I believe it's already heading out onto the map. No, it's just sitting there for a moment. It's got to get over to that other side. Charge is well underway now, and one Zealot is picking up. Deer going to mount this attack. It's going to be a bare bones defense for Impact. He's got a huge economy advantage. 10 drones and a gold base. That's massive.
Yep, all queens, lings, but above all, roaches, roaches, roaches. That's what Impact needs right now. Of course, a couple spine crawlers can be very useful too. This is one of these builds, guys. That's not a pressure. It's really hard to transition out of this if you dare. The only way you can ever transition out of it is, let's say, you kill 10 drones and a base. That's when this game goes on. But more often than not, games end here, either in favor of the Zerg or the Protoss. I like the positioning from Impact. I like it on paper, but it really comes down to where they will actually fight, right?
Yeah, it's all about the micro. You've got to keep your roaches together, get them to a number where your ball is so scary that you can shoot down these Zealots one at a time. If you can crowd behind the minerals, that could be key.
I mean, don't forget about the rocks as well. These roaches are going to be here in the middle. He's going to be able to get a couple of them immediately at first, but you want to make sure the lings the roaches will not kite your zealots too much.
Yeah, these zealots on the left kind of separating from the pack a little bit. The transfuses from those queens are strong. The spine crawler is finally going to start engaging here. A ton of zealots jumping on top of this army, but look at that positioning. The roaches pulling back to the gap. A Ravager Cocoon morphs in the front, blocking the zealots from getting through. Massive hold there from Impact. Deer's going to go in the other direction. If he takes those rocks down, that could be key.
I kind of feel like maybe he doesn't want to waste the time on it. He doesn't want to waste the units, but he needs to do a lot of damage. He could get on top of the spine, maybe even the roach one, but the roach count is already so high. Deer needs to do way more damage than he's done so far.
Yep, he's going to try and lure those roaches and ravages into the open. A few zealots are on top of the drones. The rest jumping on top of these roaches and ravages. Now off creep. The queen stuck off creep. The zealots getting huge damage. Drones trying to come in and help out, but Impact's forces are going down. He's taking so much damage. These adepts in the main base tearing it up.
And he's actually focusing with these adepts as well. Already getting 14 drones. Couple zealots still going rampage here and there as well. Impact is still alive if he can get the roaches up in time, but he moved the spine crawler too. He doesn't have much anymore.
No. There's nothing left at this gold base. Impact, it looked like a fantastic hold at the start, but in the end, Deer is too decisive, too good. Focus firing those zealots, those adepts in 3 different locations. He lures the roaches and ravages off creep and pounces on them. What gumption, what bravery to pull that build out in game number 5.
Yeah, the execution there is truly what made the difference by Deer. I loved it. He went in a little deep in the gold, turned around, and he's like, no, follow me, follow me. Pretended he wanted to go into the main base, and that's when he turned around. The corrosive bow also hit one of the own units of Impact. Damn, that was a swarm of zealots, and this time Protoss was a little more swarmy than Zerg, Pick.
That was an incredible series. I cannot wait to hear how Deer feels after that one. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back with an interview with Deer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. We just wrapped up our second best of 5 of the day, and it's Deer that takes down Impact in another close 3-2 series. So first of all, congratulations, Deer. You are moving on to the round of 8, and you've done that many times before in the GSL and SSL, but this is your first time doing it abroad on a global stage in nearly 4 years. So tell us how it feels different for you.
일단 8강 진출 축하드리고요. GSL이든 아니면 SSL에서는 되게 자주 해봤지만 해외 대회에서 한지 벌써 4년이 돼가는데 기분이 어떻게 다른지 얘기해 주세요.
국내 무대에서는 약간 팬분들이 좀 조용히 그냥 지켜보는 스타일이신데 해외 대회에서는 진짜 이렇게 멋진 팬분들이 정말 환호를 많이 해주셔서 정말 게임할 맛 나는 것 같아요.
So he says, whenever I've played events in Korea, I feel like my fans over there watch very quietly over me with their support. But every time I play in a foreign event like this, I get to play in front of these amazing foreign fans that are cheering so loudly for me. And that passion really gives me a great taste of being a pro gamer. So I really, really appreciate that. There's no doubt that the Polish fans have been absolutely amazing, and they were cheering so hard throughout this entire series. I want to jump into talking about Game 3 in particular because Impact came at you with such an aggressive attack. Were you sure that you could defend, or were you worried at all?
그 세 번째 경기에 대해서 얘기하고 싶은데 되게 센 공격이 왔었어요. 그때 수비할 수 있는 자신이 있었는지 아니면 걱정 하나도 됐는지요?
상대방의 그 공격 의도를 일찍 알아채가지고 약간 쉽게 막을 줄 알았는데 그 여왕까지 올 줄 몰라가지고 좀 많이 당황했는데 그래도 일단 알고 있었다는 것 자체가 큰 도움이 됐던 것 같아요.
So he says, I actually scouted it pretty early on. I knew it was coming, so I actually thought I would defend it way easier than I did. That being said, my mistake was I didn't expect his queens to also come with his attack, and so it became a lot harder, but I think that the biggest reason I was able to defend at the very end was the fact that I did scout it coming early on, and therefore I had that mindset coming into that defense. And now moving forward into the round of 8, you're going to be playing Classic, who's been doing so well lately. How confident are you in your PvP right now?
이제 다음 만날 상대는 이제 김도우 선수를 만날 건데 요즘 되게 잘하는 토스 선수잖아요. 그래서 푸푸전 대회 자신 있는지요?
저도 도우 형이 지금 굉장히 잘하고 있다 생각하고 우승 후보라고 생각해요. 그래서 만약에 제가 이긴다면은 제가 우승할 수 있을 것 같고 방금처럼만 이렇게 열렬히 환호해 주시면 충분히 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
So he says, I actually agree with you. I think Classic is an amazing player, and I actually think he's the tournament favorite at this event. So I think that as long as I can take him down, I can become the champion here. So please continue to cheer and support me as loudly as you guys in the audience have been, and I promise to do my absolute best. Congratulations again. Best of luck in the quarterfinal match. Kaelaris, let's head back to you.
Great to hear from Deer there, advancing on to face off against the PvP in the round of 8, of course, as he goes up against Classic. There
you go.
And then over on my right-hand side, Maynarde and Todd, hello. We're going to check in with Todd, who did have some of the last moments, I believe, from that series.
Not
so much the last
in a way, it was last moments because that's what decided the game. Kaelaris, good job. So we can jump into it. That was, to me, the key moment, which our casters pointed out very well as well. Impact is going for the scouts, and he has only one overlord there. I want to point out why. He went for a gold base, which is kind of a common thing here on this map. So if you go for a gold base, nobody drone scouts. You don't know if your opponent's going for a forge. So what did the second overlord do? The second overlord did this. It came here, then came down here, so that in this case, Impact was going to be able to see this entire area, and then the overlord stayed in that area the entire game. So he has only one overlord that's across the map and forward. So now he has the very nice move of kind of like pulling back, trying to trigger a cancel and flying back in, but then he has no way of scouting anything. Like, we're looking with his vision. He has nothing across the map but these Zerglings. What can he see? He goes up. I don't think he even clicked on that. Like, I mean, that's a robo, which could be a bit of a tell, but he cannot see everything that's going up, aka the gateways, and then later on some more gateways here too. So Impact, for a very long time, he will still be droning up. And I think that's pretty much what cost him the game from there, because he droned up a little bit too much. The gold base on this map is hardly ever defendable. It's very far away from your other bases. And I think Deer did a very good job of prioritizing. A lot of Protosses, they will just run into gold base, lose everything to drones and stop position, and then just lose the game. But not Deer. He was like, I'll jump on top of that first wave of drones, Then he went into the natural and main base, kind of split his units to kill a lot of drones in many places. And during all that time, what is Impact not doing? He's not injecting. Against the 9 gateways Protoss, you're going to need these lavas, and he did not have them. So congratulations to Deer. He moves on to get defeated by Classic in the next round.
That's right, Maynarde, a good win by Deer. Might not be entirely right. So what do you think about Deer being able to take that victory? What do you think overall about the series?
I thought the series was fantastic. Really, as you saw, another barn burner there. Definitely from
a bloodbath.
A bloodbath, as Big would say. I loved it. Very, very action-packed. Honestly, a lot closer and a lot more hype than I thought it would be. I honestly thought that Impact would kind of roll over to Deer. I thought Deer was just that level above.
Right.
But Impact, I mean, clearly this crowd is helping everyone on stage. There's just a whole lot of energy, lots of fans out there. And, I mean, I'm impressed with Impact, and I feel bad for him because it's clearly it meant a lot to him. We saw the shot when he got defeated there.
Yes.
But I do kind of, I kind of agree with Todd in a little bit where I think Deer his run might end, surely.
It may. Classic's looking good here at this tournament, and a lot of people pegging him to do very, very well. Thank you very much, guys. As it's time for a break. When we return, we move on to another round of 12 match to find out who's going to move on to the round of 8.